As if it really needs to be said, superhero movies are some of the biggest films right now, and there seems to be no sign of them slowing down. So today, I decided to do a rundown of every upcoming superhero movie that has been confirmed as of January 2018, and discuss whether or not I think these films will end up being any good. Nothing else really needs to be said, let's just get right into this. First up, in February 2018, we have Black Panther. I think it's fair to say this is going to be at least good. The movie doesn't really have anything going against it. The trailers look awesome, it's got a great cast, and director Ryan Coogler, who directed the movie Creed. So yeah, I actually have a feeling this will be one of the best movies in the MCU. Speaking of the MCU, we have Avengers Infinity War in late April or early May, depending where you live. This is my most anticipated movie of the year, and I really hope it's going to live up to the hype. The entire Marvel Cinematic Universe has been building towards this. The trailer for this was great and full of awesome moments, and it'll be amazing to see all these characters finally come together. My only worry is this might become another Age of Ultron, where the studio interferes a lot and the movie is just generic and safe. But I think Marvel have learnt their lesson and have given directors more freedom recently. So overall, this is undoubtedly going to be one of the biggest movies of the year and hopefully one of the best. Later on in May, we have Deadpool 2. There's not a whole lot to say about this. We haven't got that much footage from the film yet, and we know basically nothing about the plot. What we do know is the film will introduce Josh Brolin as Cable and Zazie Beetz as Domino, so that's pretty cool. Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead are returning, which is great, and the kid from Hunt for the Wilder People is in this. It's also going to be directed by David Leitch, who co-directed one of my favorite action films, John Wick, along with the movie Atomic Blonde, which is a by-the-numbers spy movie with one incredible action scene. Honestly, I have no idea what this movie's gonna be like, but hopefully it's gonna be great. In July, we have Ant-Man and the Wasp. I'm not looking forward to this as much as other superhero movies coming out. Not that I think this movie will be bad, I just don't particularly love the first Ant-Man. The best moments and ideas from that film clearly come from Edgar Wright, who was originally going to direct Ant-Man, but got replaced by Peyton Reed, and for Ant-Man and the Wasp, he's completely gone. So now, I have no idea where this is going to go, but I'm not going to give my hopes up, and who knows, maybe this will surprise me. In October, we have Venom. This film is sounding interesting, to say the least. First off, I like Venom as a character. This film's got a great cast, including Tom Hardy, one of my favorite actors, as Eddie Brock, Michelle Williams, Riz Ahmed, and Woody Harrelson. And he could be playing Carnage in this, which would be awesome. Another thing that's interesting is that, from what I've gathered, it seems like this will take place in the MCU, even though it's not a Marvel Studios movie. And apparently Tom Holland will even make a cameo in this as Peter Parker. The movie also might be rated R, even though I think it could work just fine for PG-13 rating, but whatever. So overall, we don't know a lot about this, but there is a chance that this will be amazing. Coming out in November is X-Men Dark Phoenix. I'm definitely not the first to say this, but I'm tired of the main X-Men movies at this point. Sure, X-Men Apocalypse was fine, but it felt like a rehash of basically every other X-Men movie. Hopefully, this is going to be a lot different from the other films. This film is going to have the X-Men go to space and introduce aliens into the X-Men universe, which is pretty interesting. But Simon Kinberg, this film's director, said in an interview that this will all be grounded. And I'm just so sick of the X-Men movies trying to be grounded in reality instead of embracing the madness of the comics. Hopefully this will bring something original to the X-Men movies, but I have some doubts. In December, we're getting Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which will be animated and focus on the Miles Morales Spider-Man. There's already a trailer for this, and let me just say, the animation looks incredible. I mean, everything in this just looks beautiful. Not to mention, this film is being written by Phil Lord, who co-directed the Lego Movie, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, and the Jump Street movies, so that's pretty exciting. I'm also curious as to how this film will handle the Spider-Verse as a whole. We see 2 in the trailer, but we might also get Spider-Man 2099, Spider-Gwen, Spider-Man Noir, Scarlet Spider, or even Spider-Ham. I'm really interested to see where this goes, and I'm hoping, at the very least, this will be a step up from Sony Animation's last movie. Also in December, we have AQUAMAN. This is a film I'm very cautiously optimistic about. As much as I want to love all of DC's movies, a lot of them just aren't all that great, with only one exception. I think this very well could be amazing, with Jason Momoa's Aquaman being one of the highlights of Justice League, and the footage from this movie shown at Comic-Con apparently was amazing. But I'm really just not that sure considering DC's track record. Hopefully this will be more in line with Wonder Woman than a movie like Suicide Squad. Next up in January 2019, we have the Hellboy reboot, starring David Harbour, who you may know as Jim Hopper from Stranger Things. So that's already pretty awesome. This movie is going to be directed by Neil Marshall, who's directed a few horror movies, including The Descent. This film is also apparently going to get an R rating and will be a lot darker than the original Hellboy movies and more in line with the comics, which I imagine are dark. I haven't read any of them. This film is already gaining some controversy because fans of the original two movies wanted a third one, and now that's obviously not happening. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of the original films, they're just a little too cheesy for my taste, so I'm not too mad. Overall, this sounds interesting, and I'm looking forward to this just for David Harbour alone. Next, we have Silver and Black, which might be coming out in February 2019. Like Venom, this will be a Spider-Man spin-off made by Sony and will focus on Silver Sable and Black Cat. The reason I say this might be coming out in February is because, even though that's the confirmed release date, we haven't gotten any news about this movie since it was announced in mid-2017, and I'm guessing Sony are going to see how Venom does both critically and financially before going ahead with this film. Also, side note, no one's going to see a movie called Silver and Black. That's the worst movie title of all time. Later on in February 2019, we have The New Mutants. Now some of you might be confused because the trailer said it was coming out April this year. Well, recently it was announced that this movie was going to be delayed a whole 10 months, which is pretty insane. There are some rumors as to why this is. Apparently, even though it's a horror movie, the film isn't that scary, so there's going to be a bunch of reshoots done to make this film more terrifying, which would have to be pretty extensive considering the delay. On that note, it's intriguing that this is going to be a superhero movie in the horror genre. Whether or not this will be good, I'm not sure about, but I am interested. In March, we have Captain Marvel. For this film, we actually have some information. First off, it's got a great cast, including Brie Larson as Captain Marvel, Samuel L. Jackson, Jude Law, and Ben Mendelsohn. This film will also take place sometime in the 90s and will feature the shape-shifting alien race, the Skrulls, as the main villains. I don't know too much about Captain Marvel as a character, but it does sound pretty great, so I'm looking forward to it. In April, we have a film about another superhero named Captain Marvel, that being Shazam. Like Aquaman, I'm cautiously optimistic because of DC's track record, but some of this does sound pretty exciting. It's apparently not going to connect too much with the larger DCU, and it's got a great cast, including Zachary Levi as Captain Marvel, the guy who played Eddie from It, and Mark Strong as the villain. The movie's director, David F. Sandberg, concerns me a bit, as he's only done horror movies, but he said this movie's gonna have a lighter tone, especially compared to some other DCU movies. Overall, even though it could turn out the same as a lot of other DC movies, I'm pretty excited. Next up, in late April or early May, depending where you live, we have the yet untitled Avengers 4. There isn't a lot known about this. Apparently it could have some elements of time travel to prevent whatever happens in Infinity War, but we don't know yet. In June 2019, we have Gambit, starring Channing Tatum. This movie lost like 4 directors. Why Fox haven't just cancelled it already is beyond me. Honestly, the only person sticking to this project is Channing Tatum. Just let him direct it. I mean, it might not be the best movie ever, but he's the only person who cares. In July, we have the untitled sequel to Spider-Man Homecoming. Love the first movie, this has the same director, hoping it will be just as good. In November 2019 comes Wonder Woman 2. As I said, DC's track record concerns me, but Wonder Woman was by far the best movie in the DCU, and this has director Patty Jenkins coming back, so I'm not too concerned about this. Suicide Squad 2 is also expected to come out sometime in 2019. This will be directed by Gavin O'Connor, who directed Warrior and The Accountant. Will Smith, Margot Robbie, and Jared Leto are also going to be returning, and this may introduce The Rock as Black Adam. This will probably turn out better than the first Suicide Squad movie, but still, I'm not really looking forward to it, to be honest. As for 2020, the only movie confirmed to be released then is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which will come out sometime in either May, August, or November. I love the first Guardians movie, really like the second one, and I just can't wait to see what else James Gunn is going to do with these characters. There's also a bunch of superhero movies rumored to come out in 2020, but their release dates haven't been confirmed yet. First off, we have the standalone Black Widow movie. And basically nothing is known about this movie except that it will obviously star Scarlett Johansson and will be written by Jax Schaefer, who wrote Olaf's Frozen Adventure. Okay then. Apart from that, nothing else is known about this. Another film rumored to come out in 2020 is Doctor Strange 2. Again, basically nothing is known about this except that Baron Mordo will be the villain, and that's about it. As for DC films that might come out in 2020, first up we have Cyborg. I'm gonna be honest, out of all the members of the Justice League, I liked Cyborg the least. This might also be an origin story movie, which I also don't really care for. Next, we have Green Lantern Corps. This is gonna have both Hal Jordan and John Stewart Green Lanterns. Hopefully, DC gets it right this time. Finally, we have Flashpoint. This is apparently gonna be the X-Men Days of Future Past for the DCU. By that, I mean it's gonna reset basically the entire universe. So whether or not you like or hate that idea, it is pretty interesting. Alright, I'm gonna speed around through a bunch of superhero movies that don't have any release date yet, with most of them most likely coming out after 2020. Spider-Man Homecoming 3. Tom Holland is gonna return, and it's likely gonna also be directed by Jon Watts. Deadpool 3. Nothing is really known, except it might introduce the X-Force. Speaking of, we have the X-Force movie, which will be directed by Drew Goddard. He directed Cabin in the Woods and produced Daredevil and The Defenders. A Doctor Doom spin-off is being developed by Noah Hawley, who created the shows Legion and Fargo, and is rumored to star Mads Mikkelsen in the role. An X-23 spin-off is being developed by James Mangold, the director of The Wolverine and Logan. A Kitty Pryde spin-off is being developed by Tim Miller, the director of Deadpool, but it's unknown if Ellen Page will reprise her role. A Multiple Man movie was said to be in development starring James Franco in the role, but that might be cancelled or at least recast because of the allegations against Franco. An Alpha Flight movie was said to be in development, but it might not be anymore, who knows. Sony is said to be developing a Morbius the Living Vampire movie to connect with the rest of their spin-offs. A Nightwing movie is in development from the Lego Batman movie director. A Batgirl movie is in development and will be directed by Joss Whedon. A Harley Quinn and Joker movie based off the Mad Love storyline is coming from the directors of Crazy Stupid Love, which is pretty fitting. Justice League 2 is said to be in development, but who knows. Justice League Dark is said to also be in development, but again, who knows at this point. There's gonna be a standalone Joker movie that's separated from the DCU. It's gonna be produced by Martin Scorsese and directed by the guy who did War Dogs and the Hangover trilogy. Leonardo DiCaprio is rumored for the role. A Gotham City Sirens movie is in development, and David Ayer, the director of Suicide Squad, is said to be directing. A Birds of Prey movie is also said to be in development, with Margot Robbie possibly reprising her role as Harley Quinn. A Deathstroke movie is also in development starring Joe Manganiello, and is said to be directed by the guy who did the Raid movies. Man of Steel 2 is in development, and Matthew Vaughn is in talks to direct. The Batman is in development, and Matt Reeves is going to write and direct. But there are lots of rumors that Ben Affleck wants to drop out of this movie, and some rumors even saying that he might be replaced by either Jake Gyllenhaal or Jon Hamm. Nothing yet is known about the plot, but there are some rumors that it may take place in Arkham Asylum. An R-rated Spawn reboot is in development. It's going to be directed by Todd McFarlane, the creator of Spawn. A Bloodshot movie is in development, with Vin Diesel possibly in the role. Finally, The Crow is going to get a reboot with Jason Momoa in the role. So there you have it, a list of all the upcoming superhero movies. Thanks for watching, remember to leave a like, I'd really appreciate it, and subscribe for more videos like this one.